Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel and thank you for joining me today. Before we go any further, obviously we're right on the Christmas break now, or the holiday break if you don't celebrate Christmas. So it's Friday here in Australia. I will be away on Christmas Day and Boxing Day, returning next Tuesday. But I'll be doing readings from Wednesday onwards. So if you are looking for me, I'm technically not going to be around for about 5 days. Or 4 days actually, isn't it? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah. So I will be back next Wednesday. If you would like a reading with me, I strongly suggest that you get your request through now, because I will only have a couple of days next week. And you can do that by sending an email to theaussiegoddess@gmail.com. All one word, no numbers, all spelt correctly. And I'll send you a list of options. I am still considering putting my website up in the new year. I have to see if it's possible and how I can go about it, because I had other things attached to it, so I have to get them all up and running again. If you're interested in joining me for a membership, the buttons are down below, and when you join it lets you know what your opportunities are there. I feel a bit sort of neglectful this week because I haven't had much time to do very much, but once we get back on board, I have a couple of weeks off from uni too, which is really good. And hopefully I'll get a bit of time to maybe go live, which I keep telling myself I need to do. What else? I think that's everything. Let's just leave it there. And we're going to do your reading today from the Ethereal Tarot. I have been shuffling as we speak. And we're going to start this reading off with the Eight of Pentacles. You know, the Eight of Pentacles has been coming out a little bit lately. And for me, it's often a card that talks about work or, you know, really getting stuck into projects. But it really does come out quite a lot when people are doing self-work. Now, for some of us, the self-work never stops. And I do have people say to me, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm like, you'll never be able to go back to where you were. You're way too aware now. But it does feel like sometimes it gets to be hard work. I don't think so much anymore for me. If I come across something or I get a message about something or something triggers me or makes me feel uncomfortable, I handle it a little differently now. But for a long time, I would go into a complete, I don't want to say a meltdown because it wouldn't be like that, but it was certainly a time where I recognized that my past issues were still sort of clutching at me. So but I sort of understand now what to do a little bit more. I guess that's why it's so good to have that knowledge when you're working with other people, because a lot of stuff that's taken me on this journey, and the journey I've taken, is very much about helping others. So I feel like here with this Eight of Pentacles, it could be that you've been doing a lot of work on yourself. I almost want to say maybe in preparation for Christmas, because Christmas was a difficult time for me, especially if I got together with my family. So I really understand like that triggering, how to manage things, those sort of things really help you manage yourself through a process. So maybe some of you are getting in sort of some work or some understanding before you move into a situation where you've got a lot of family around. I know a lot of people sort of have their I almost want to say have their, you know, burdens still with them, and still want to work with their families. I probably should do a little bit of a talk on this one day, but I feel here knowing what triggers you. And it took me a long time to understand, as much as, you know, it's other people doing the triggering, it's how we respond that makes them trigger us. So really good work if you're doing that work. All right, have the card of the Lovers behind here. Now, the Lovers card is followed here by the Knight of Swords. Something is definitely sort of pushing you back into doing some self-work, but now I've seen the Lovers and the Knight of Swords here. I feel like somehow or another there is some sort of choice around the conversation that you're having with someone. Absolutely. This conversation has come in very hard and fast and maybe particularly triggering. So it could be from a past love, being we have the lovers here, but it feels like to me more that that is a choice you need to make about moving forward. Because the lovers isn't always about love. We've tended to sort of make it that way along the way, but it is a card of choice. And was called the choice initially. So to me, there is some sort of choice. Somebody's triggered you here with a conversation. Yeah, it's sort of like thrown your world into a sort of a bit of a turmoil here. Let me just take a couple more. Yeah, there's something that needs to be changed. We do have, again, this Tower coming out with this Death card. They're both cards of Scorpio. So it might be that it's triggering that Scorpio element in you, or it's a Scorpio that's doing that energy. We do have the Nine of Swords coming through. So whatever it is, it's creating a lot of, a lot of energy. You're making some sort of choice here. I do have the Ace of Pentacles here. I don't think this is a choice in love. It doesn't feel like that sort of choice. What it feels like is a choice to walk away from something or to leave something behind, because you've done all of that work and somebody is still finding, or you're still finding somebody triggers those energies in you. Sometimes we don't even realize. Sometimes the trigger is so subtle that we get really angry and then we're trying to work out what's triggered us. This is why I don't watch the news. Because I find sometimes things that are said and done on the news can cause me to feel quite triggered and emotional, possibly because either they're just hype or they're not completely true or they don't carry any truth, or because, you know, it's a human rights violation, and I find those sort of things still trigger me. And I feel like somehow or another here, you may be in some sort of setting where you've done a lot of work on yourself, but something is still grating at you or triggering you. And I feel like, you know, it's like bringing everything together and you're trying to work out, like, do I want to even be around this person, these people, this situation anymore? Because it's causing me more distress. Obviously not causing them any distress. Now, sometimes when people trigger you, they want to see your response. So not seeing a response is a problem for them. But they want to see you get upset. That's why they trigger. It's a jealousy, spiteful way to be. But that's what they do. So it might be that they sort of pick on your appearance, or pick on your career, or pick on your choices, or your partner, or whatever else. But they will do it. And the idea is, very often it's very subtle, but you can feel it triggering you because you get all of those feelings inside that sort of make you realize that you're starting to get angry, even if you don't realize what the triggers are. And if somebody's had a really long history with you, then they will know you so well that they can trigger you in a flash. So, you know, often the best thing to do is to completely ignore. But if you can't ignore, one of the things that upsets people greatly is when you say to them, oh, I need to think about that, I'll get back to you later. Or, thank you very much for your feedback, I'll take it on board. Whatever, but don't react with emotion. They feed on the emotion. We're talking emotional vampires. So whatever this is for you, I feel like you're reviewing your work. Perhaps you feel like you've done so much work, but yet, and I love that we got the Seven of Cups here. The Seven of Cups is a card that talks about illusion, delusion, confusion. If somebody's gaslighting you, for example, you can actually stop for a moment and try to understand what it is that they're trying to achieve here. So we know about gaslighting too. So that can be a thing of triggering. You know, if you say to somebody, or somebody says to you, you left the door open and you know you didn't, and you say, no, it must have been you. And they say, no, I did not leave the door open. But you know they did. Or you saw them. I've seen people say it and I've seen what they've done, but they still won't acknowledge it. So this Seven of Cups makes me feel there's some sort of situation that's bringing about a lot of confusion for you. I feel like you've done a lot of work. You may have done a lot of study on this. You've got the Judgment card here. Maybe here because you've got the Eight of Swords. So it makes me feel like perhaps you got into a little bit of a mental state over something. Maybe you found something was so triggering that you did the work on it, but it's still triggering you, which it's meant to do. But once you understand what the trigger is, you respond differently to what you did before. It can be quite a shock and surprise for people if they're used to getting that rise out of you, because they don't really understand why you're not responding. But for you to understand that, even when we've done a lot of work, somebody can still trigger that in you regardless, because it may come from a slightly different place. It may remind you of a parent figure. It may be something you've already dealt with, but somebody else is doing it now. I always think like you respond sometimes and you lose it, and then you go, oh, why did I do that? What did I do that for? So there seems to be a bit of a choice here around how you respond differently. All right, so I have the Four of Pentacles coming through with the Six of Pentacles. I like it. And the Page of Wands. You know, you are meant to love yourself first. Doesn't matter what area of your life you look at, love for yourself always comes first. You cannot even provide a happy and safe environment unless you feel happy and safe within yourself. So if you are dealing with people who are very, very unhappy, very miserable, then they won't want to see you be happy. They won't want to see it. So they will strip you back in whatever way, shape or form they can do to make you feel bad about yourself, because that puts you on their level. So it's a very snide, sneaky way of making them feel better about themselves. That's all it is. And I feel like here, somehow or another, there is something you need to let go of now. It's no longer serving you. And the universe is saying to you here, it's time to let go of something. It could be someone, but it more feels to me like you need to let go of those things that you don't think that you are worthy of. So when someone's triggering you, it's often your own self-esteem or your own confidence that's being hit. But somebody knows you well enough to do this. All right, so we have the King of Swords coming through with the Page of Swords. Yet Nine of Pentacles. There you go, right at the end of the reading. Stand in your own power. If somebody upsets you, remember your silence, your walking away is more painful for them than anything else you could do. And I've had people say to me in the past, but I want to say something. I want to, explain myself. I want to tell them why. I want to say you're hurting me. None of those things matter. They do not matter. They may to a person who has healthy self-esteem, but to someone who has narcissistic traits or tendencies, they don't really give two hoots what you think, where you're coming from. Couldn't care less. So actually speaking up or trying to explain your position is far worse, because they're not going to understand. They don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about what they're saying. Full stop. So you explaining yourself or trying to explain your way out of something just says to them that they've hurt and upset you. And then they're inside yahooing. All right, so I feel like some sort of work you've been doing along the way here is about to get triggered. And I feel like because of this sort of changes you've made, it may throw you back, right back where you started. And I feel like somehow or another, there is a real energy here and a decision to re-find your balance for a new beginning. And sometimes re-finding that balance or getting back to where we needed to be, or finding the calmness within us, you might even need to go and have a little bit of a meditation or a deep breathing session. But I don't think you've forgotten what you've done. It's just that you haven't been faced with a situation again where someone's done the same thing to you. So let's have a look at an oracle card. Takes a lot of unlearning. Can I say to you, this is the Detox card. So it talks about repairing the body, mind, spirit. And that's why I said I feel like you're going round on a situation you've already been in, but you haven't put it into practice yet. And it could be somebody you love very dearly. I mean, even, families learn that about you. You know, you could be the scapegoat within your family, and every time you get together, there's that sort of energy of them sort of picking on you or selecting you to give a hard time to. Okay, this is about eliminating toxic thinking and repairing the body, mind, spirit cleaning house. When the Detox card appears, it challenges you to discard the deep, dearly held judgments that you have passed over yourself. Release the people who you feel wronged or offended you. Recognize that they mirror the shadow aspects of your own soul. Yes, it's a tough pill to swallow. Only then can you cull from your life the toxic people you have allowed into your inner circle. I feel like here, because it says it's a warning that you can no longer postpone the self-care and pampering. And I know for a fact there's a lot of people who feel very, very uncomfortable around family time. And it might only be one person you're dealing with. It might be, you know, several people you're dealing with, but it can be quite painful leading up to spending that time with those people when you know what they're capable of. But remember, it's only their jealousy, their discomfort, their own self-esteem and confidence. I'm not making excuses for them, but I want you to understand it does not have anything to do with you. It has to do with the people that are targeting you. So if I don't see you before, well, I might on the Taurus reading, if you're watching the Taurus reading. Have a wonderful holiday break. For those of you who are celebrating Christmas, Merry Christmas, and I will see you after the holiday break. Take care.